Hey guys, welcome to Running with Curls. I'm Christina, and today we're going to be looking at how I do my at-home curly cut. So during quarantine, I learned how to cut my own hair. If you ask my husband, I've been messing with cutting my own hair for a while, but I actually figured out what I was doing during quarantine. So it is time for another haircut. You can see my hair has layers, but my top layers are super grown out. Like this is my shortest layer right now, which comes down almost to like jawline. And my goal is for my hair to be more rounded. Right now we're looking at triangle. So if you see, especially in the back, it really just sits flat because where I need height, my layers are super long. So what we are going to do is I'm going to be doing more of a rounded cut. I'm going to bring up the length a little bit, as well as give myself some more layers. So I am going to cut dry. I cut my individual curl clumps so that I know what it's going to look like. So first thing I do is I am going to separate what's going to be my longest layer. I'm going to separate that out. So you can see I'm pulling up a good bit of my hair. And I'm just going to twist that and alligator clip it up. So this right here is going to be my bottom layer. As far as shape, I have a graduated bob, which means that the front layers are going to be longer than my back layers. And I'm still going to keep that pretty much the same. Clipped up a little too much. I need this front piece down. There we go. Okay. So clipping that up, and I want my front layers. So I'm going to have my individual curls, and then you want to cut on the curl. So where you see like the C, you don't want to cut at the bottom, you want to cut in the middle. So I'm going to take my first couple of layers. I want it to hit right at my shoulders in the front and then be higher in the back. So I'm going to take my first one and find that C, and then just cut. And the reason I cut my hair dry is because you can see once I took off a little bit of that length, it sprung up a lot more than what you would expect. So when you cut your hair wet, especially if you have shrinkage, you're going to notice a significant amount of that when you cut it wet, and you're going to end up with one of those curly disaster cuts where it ends up being way shorter than what you wanted. So I'm going to continue just kind of finding, so I find that curl and just snip. So there you see, and it's bringing up my length significantly, which is what I want. You can already see I've taken up the length by about 2 inches, but I've cut off way more than 2 inches of hair, but that's because of the way, and you can see my curl pattern. So it doesn't look like I'm taking off a lot within the curl, but if you stretch it out, that's almost 4 or 5 inches. So that's why when you go to a salon and you say, I want this much off, and they cut on wet hair, you're going to end up with potentially not what you wanted in terms of length. So now my front section is about even with my back section, which is not what I want. I want that graduated bob. So I'm going to start on my left side over here. And just so you know, I'm looking into a mirror so I can see what I'm doing. But I'm just going to, again, take these individual clumps. Okay, so I have gone ahead and cut the length that I wanted on that very bottom layer, and then everything else is now going to build up from there. This is what I took off from just that bottom layer to get the length that I wanted. So took off a pretty good amount of hair. I have already let down the second layer. You can see these layers are pretty even with what I've already cut. So now I'm literally just going to go in. I still want to leave my front section longer, but again, I'm just taking each individual curl and cutting where I want it to fall. In the back, I want to keep, so I'm going to pick these layers. Here's my bottom layer. Here's what I let down. It is longer than what I've already cut. So I just kind of section it off. I pin it with some bobby pins just to keep it together. And then all I'm going to do is take these individual curls and cut them shorter to fall where I want them to. So you can see the difference on the left side over here. I'm starting to get this rounded shape. On the right side, it's all still long because I haven't added those layers. So as I add the layers, it's going to get more and more rounded. As I am going to slowly start taking down layers, so on the sides and the back, and this is where we're really going to start getting that lift. So you can see now just how much longer these top layers are. Like, this is the layer I just let down. It is literally longer than what I have already cut. So stick that up, and literally all I'm going to do is continue to build that volume by continuing to round out. So you can already see I'm a lot more rounded. I still have to do this top layer. And as I get towards the top, what you notice, these layers right here in the back are still super long. What I want to do, I am going to cut these pretty short because I want a lot of movement. I also, once I get closer up, I cut my curl clumps a lot smaller so that it's easier for them to blend. You don't want this whole section like cut and then to go straight across. That's gonna give you these real awkward lengths. So you want to take those individual curls, like this guy right here is still super long. And I'm gonna break this into several pieces. So this one I'm gonna cut here. I'm gonna go a little bit longer. On these guys, you can see they separate. I'm gonna do this one shorter, longer, and then kind of mid-length. And then I still have this one guy. There we go. So you can see I'm giving it a lot of movement. I'm giving it a lot of dimension by adding these shorter layers. And then when you kind of go in, you can see I can pull this one way out. So I'm literally just gonna take those scragglers and cut them and just continue working my way around until I've taken all of these really long layers and cut them into my shorter, more dynamic layers that are going to give me all of that height and volume. Okay, it is time for my last section. This is what's really going to give me that rounding. So one way that I kind of check and make sure I have everything is I just kind of run my fingers through and pull up my layers, and I'm looking, so like right here, this piece, if there's anything that just kind of stands out as being like super long, like this guy right here, that just doesn't fit with the other layers in that section. So I'm good to go. What I am going to do, this section, so I have kind of my bang area right here, and then I have what sits in the back. So you can see if I lay these down, it's literally like almost to where my mid layers are. So you can see how long these are. I want to take these up super short. So what I am going to do, I'm going to section it out kind of the way my hair naturally falls, which is where these guys fall backwards. I'm going to clip this section, and then I'm going to take these straight overhead, and each individual curl clump I'm going to cut. Now, when you do this, do not go super short. Remember, hold it, find where it falls, cut on that C, and that's gonna give you what you want. If you just automatically cut super short, you're gonna end up with this weird choppy look. You want to see how they fall kind of on your head, and then cut them to where you want them to sit. If you just go in and just start chopping away, you're gonna end up with a hot mess. So this is not a quick process, but I always like how my curls end up looking at the end. Okay, here are my results. So all I did after I finished cutting, I used a little bit of water as well as my absolute like go-to refresh. If you have not used this yet, go get some. It's a Curlsmith Moisture Memory Reactivator. I always say it wrong, but I absolutely love it. Just sprayed a little bit of this on, diffused, and oh my goodness. So a couple of things. One, the bringing up the height really just kind of reactivated my curls. It helped them. You noticed in the previous video, they were kind of like flat at the beginning. So really helped give a lot of volume, give a lot of height. I didn't do like bangs so much, but I do have a couple of shorter clumps around the front. I'll show you guys the back. So here's the back. You can see still a lot of height, lots of layers, lots of volume. Love this so much. So super excited to be ringing in the new year with a new cut. So let me know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, checking out my at-home haircutting skills that I learned during quarantine. Let me know, have you guys cut your own hair? Is this something that you're willing to try, or are you like absolute have to go to a salon? But again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you find this helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.